Namaskaram. So let's talk about important issue of general study paper 1 of the date 17th of May 2024. First issue is Israel-Palestine issue. 75 years since the displacement of 700,000 Palestinians. What is the context? Context is UN commemorate the mass displacement of Palestinians known as the Nakba for the first time in its history. So what is Nakba or catastrophe? It refers to the mass displacement and exodus of Palestinians that occurred in 1948 when Israel was established. It resulted in approximately 700,000 Palestinians being forced to leave their homes, becoming refugees. So, why were Palestinians displaced? Palestinians were displaced primarily as a result of the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. The displacement occurred during the Arab-Israel War that followed Israel's declaration of independence. So let's talk about a brief timeline of the Israel-Palestine issue. First, early 20th century. In early 20th century, Jews and Arabs both claim historical and ancestral connections to the land of Palestine. In 1917, Balfour Declaration happened, and in this declaration expresses support for a Jewish nation home in Palestine. In 1947, the United Nations proposes a partition plan, recommending separate Jewish and Arab states in Palestine. In 1948, Israel declares independence, leading to Arab-Israel War. In 1967, the Six-Day War takes place, with Israel gaining control of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula and Golan Heights. When you look at the map of this region, Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, Jordan, you clearly understand what is the location of Golan Heights, what is the location of Sinai Peninsula, what is the location of West Bank, Gaza Strip as well as East Jerusalem. In 1993, the Oslo Accords are signed, establishing a framework for peace negotiations between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Current situation is Israel occupies the West Bank and East Jerusalem with the construction of Israeli settlements and separation barriers impacting Palestinian territories. So, what is the status of Palestinian refugee? The status of the Palestinian refugee remains a significant and unresolved issue. According to the United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestinian Refugee (UNRWA), there are approximately 6 million registered Palestinian refugees. Many of them continue to live in refugee camps in the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Jordan, Lebanon and Syria. So what is the view of the international community on this issue? The international community supports a two-state solution where Israel and a future independent Palestine exist side by side. Various peace talks and initiatives such as the Camp David Summit in 2000 and the Annapolis Conference in 2007 have aimed to resolve the conflict but have not yet resulted in a final agreement. In 2020, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain signed normalization agreement with Israel. What is the views of India on this issue? India's views on the Israel-Palestine issue have evolved over time. Historically, India supported the Palestinian cause and recognized the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or called PLO, as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. However, in recent years, India has adopted a more balanced approach and emphasized its commitment toward two-state solution. India supports the establishment of a sovereign, independent and a viable Palestinian state existing peacefully alongside Israel. So what is the conclusion of the whole issue? Conclusion is the UN marking 75 years since the displacement of 700,000 Palestinians recognizes historical injustice, affirms Palestinian rights, advocates for a peaceful resolution, and shows solidarity with Palestinians. So this is all about this issue. Now let's talk about important issue from the General Study Paper 2. Issue is Government implements RPWD Act 2016. So what is RPWD? It is Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So what is the context? The Government of India has implemented the Rights of Persons with Disabilities RPWD Act 2016 to establish accessibility standards for persons with disabilities. So what are accessibility standards for person with disabilities? Accessibility standards for person with disabilities refer to guidelines and regulations that aim to ensure equal access and participation for individuals with disabilities in various environments and services. These standards cover different aspects of accessibility like physical environment, transportation, information and communication, technology and public facilities. So what is the status of person with disabilities in India? There are about 2.68 crore or 2.21% of the population. These number of people with disability in India according to the 2011 census of India. So let's talk about the accessibility standards for person with disabilities. What is the aim? Aim is provide access to medical services for person with disabilities, preventive, curative and rehabilitative. What are the barriers? Limited access to quality education, low employment rates and inadequate healthcare services. What is the key aspect of accessibility standards? Like physical environment. In physical environment, example, ramps and accessible entrances, barrier-free pathways and accessible parking spaces, elevators and lifts for vertical accessibility. In terms of transportation, accessible buses, trains and stations, wheelchair, ramps and lifts, audible and visual announcements. In terms of information and communication, accessible formats for printed materials, captioning and audio description for audio visual content and accessible website and digital platforms. In terms of technology aspect, screen reader compatibility, keyboard accessibility and alternative text for images. So what are the initiatives taken by India in this regard? There are various conventions like India has ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. India is a signatory to the BIWACO Millennium Framework and the Declaration on Full Participation and Equality of People with Disability in the Asia Pacific region. Incheon strategy to make the right real for person with disability in Asia and the Pacific. What Constitution say regarding this? Article 41 of DPSP said that state shall make effective provisions in case of disablement. 7th schedule said that the subject of relief of the disabled and unemployable is specified in the state list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. In terms of legislation, it talks about Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016 increases the number of disabilities from 7 conditions to 21 and Accessible India campaign. In terms of shift in attitude, focus on disabilities has been shifted from the individual to society, that means from a medical model of disability to a social or human rights model of disability. In terms of institute, India signed Language Research and Training Center, Indian Sign Language Research and Training Center and the National Institute of Mental Health Rehabilitation have been established. Okay. In terms of technology, Unique Disability Identification Portal, BIS standard IS 17802, focus on accessibility requirements for ICT products and services. So these are important aspect and contribution of India and the world body. So what are the measures needed? First one, strengthen preventive health progress, including early screening for all children as demonstrated by Kerala's successful comprehensive newborn screening CNS program. Second, embrace a community-based rehabilitation CBR approach to maximize the ability of individuals with disabilities. Third, increase public awareness and understanding of disability through social campaigns that challenge stigmas and stereotypes. Fourth, encourage inclusiveness by transitioning individuals from special schools to mainstream environment, promoting a diverse range of influences and interaction. So this is all about this issue. Now let's talk about important issue from the general study paper 3. Topic is cross border insolvency. What is the context? The Indian government has decided to halt its plan to adopt a cross border insolvency regime that would have allowed foreign lenders to initiate bankruptcy proceedings against defaulting Indian businesses in local tribunals. So let's talk about cross-border insolvency. Cross-border insolvency typically occurs when a debtor has operations or creditor in multiple countries, and there is a need for coordination and cooperation among different courts and stakeholders to achieve an efficient and fair resolution. United Nations Commission on International Trade Law UNCITRAL UNCTAD Model Law on Cross-Border Insolvency 1997 is a widely accepted legal framework to deal with cross-border insolvency issue. So why has India halted its plan? India halted the adoption of cross-border insolvency based on the fact that only around 50 countries have adopted the UN model of cross-border insolvency, and many of them have stringent restrictions in place. So instead, the government's current priority include expanding the informal debt resolution scheme for larger cooperation, implementing a new regime for handling the insolvency of group companies, creating a special regime for the real estate sector, remove lacunae in the operation of the insolvency and bankruptcy code, reduce delays in case admission and approval of rescue plans, prevent inappropriate transaction by the management of defaulting companies. So let's talk about insolvency. Keywords in is insolvency. Insolvency means inability to repay outstanding debt. What is bankruptcy? Bankruptcy means court declaration of insolvency with appropriate orders to resolve it and protect creditors' right. So what is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? It is enacted in 2016. It consolidates laws related to the insolvency resolution of business firms. So what is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2021? It introduces pre-packaged insolvency resolution process called PIRP for micro, small and medium enterprises MSMEs with defaults up to rupees 1 crore. So what are the challenges for the IBC? Lack of proper resolution with over 50% of cases ending in liquidation, significant delays in resolution, high haircuts, that means debt forgone by creditors, and lack of digitization. What is the achievement? A successful revival of India's insolvency regime and addressing non-performing assets like NPH, improved credit discipline. India's rank in resolving insolvency improved significantly. So what are the provision of cross-border insolvency? Currently, Section 234 and 235 of IBC 2016 provide a basic framework for cross-border insolvency. Section 235 said Section 234 empowers the central government to enter into bilateral agreement, and 235 talk about adjudicating authorities issuing letter of request to foreign courts. So this is all about cross-border insolvency. So how we conclude it? In conclusion, we say that the introduction of a cross-border insolvency regime will be considered once the institutional capacity and overall bankruptcy resolution ecosystem are more robust. So first make our institutional and bankruptcy resolution robust, then introduce cross-border insolvency regime. So this is all about this issue. Now let's talk about another issue from the General Studies paper 3. Issue is land reclamation. What is the context? Should new land be generated in oceans by land reclamation, given that coastal regions around the world are endangered by rising sea level and more severe storms? So what is this issue all about? So what is the meaning of land reclamation? Its meaning is, it is the process of creating new land from oceans, seas, river beds or lake beds. What are the method adopted in this? Infilling, that means filling the area with large amount of heavy rocks, cement, clay, dirt until the desired height is reached. Drainage of submerged wetlands. Land dredging. Land dredging means removal of sediments and debris from the bottom of a water body. So what is the objective of this land reclamation? Its objective is, a solution for many countries is to control flooding and make more space for agriculture and coastal industries, balancing economy and ecology. Cities are already spending to include future ready reclamation technique, including sea walls and breakwaters, in ongoing reclamation project and reinforcing and elevating existing coastal defenses. What are the examples of it? The Netherlands, where around 1/3 of the country is below sea level, must be artificially drained to keep out the North Sea. So what is the global scale phenomena? What is the current global scale phenomena? With the increased economic importance of coastal zones, coastal land reclamation has become a global phenomena despite considerable cost and engineering challenges. 106 cities around the world had altogether created around 2,530 square kilometers of coastal land, and in this 19% of the land was created in East Asia, an area roughly the size of Luxembourg. So who leads in this whole process? So China leads the way. From 2000 to 2020, Shanghai alone added around 350 square kilometers, with Singapore and Incheon. Incheon is a place in South Korea, also raising vast new areas. Okay, so first one is Shanghai, that means China, then followed by Singapore and South Korea. The eco-city projects in cities like Tianjin and Tangshan near Beijing include environmentally friendly features like rehabilitated wetlands, artificial reefs and restored mangroves forests that act as a buffer from ocean storm. This means the reclamation projects today are getting intertwined with the engineering sustainability paradigm. So what are the challenges? First one is, most coastal land expansions happen in low-lying areas with more than 70% of new land at high risk of storm surges and flooding due to rising sea levels linked to climate change. Second, the environment cost of land reclamation project can be significant. Like, projects have destroyed coastal land like marshes, swamps and mangrove forest. Using sand obtained from the marine and river environment can mean the destruction of habitats and spawning grounds of organisms. So as sea level rises, is land reclamation still a good idea? Okay, so while land reclamation has provided benefits in the past, the changing climate and rising sea levels introduce new challenges and risks. For example, the Maldives, a nation that heavily relied on the land reclamation, now faces the threat of losing large portion of its reclaimed land due to rising sea levels, making it an unsuitable long-term solution. So, it is crucial to assess the long-term sustainability, environmental impact and cost effectiveness of land reclamation project in the context of the changing climate. So, what is the way ahead? First, use alternative fill like excavated rock and soil from local construction projects or reclaimed concrete, asphalt, brick and other rubble. Second, several countries like Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia and Vietnam have already banned the export of sand for land reclamation. So how we conclude the issue? We conclude it like seas are not empty spaces, as there are vibrant human and non-human communities whose lives are dependent on the health of the sea. Therefore, they need to be protected. So this is all about this issue. Now let's talk about some important topics related to MENS. First one is Welfare Fund for MG Narega's workers. The Kerala government has introduced India's first welfare fund specifically for workers under the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme MG Narega's. These initiatives provide benefits such as pensions for workers age 60 and above, as well as financial assistance for medical treatment, education, marriage and other needs. What is the usage of it? Such an initiative can be used to highlight the social security program for unorganized workers in the state. So this is all about this topic. Now let's talk about another issue for men's perspective, like initiative under Mission Life. So what are the initiatives? This initiative is launched by whom and description related to that. So first initiative is Clean Sea Initiative. It is launched by National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management. It talk about fishing for litter. That means encourages fishermen to bring discarded fishing gear to shore-based reception facilities. Second, beach cleaning. It is also by the NCSCM, that means National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management. Beach cleaning talk about beach cleaning activity are organized to collect plastic waste including discarded fishing nets and single-use plastics. Next one, sensitization program. It is also by the NCSCM. It talk about educating the fishing community about responsible fishing, hygienic fish handling and energy and water conservation. Next one is plantation drive. It is by the National Institute of Himalayan Environment. It talk about planting medicinal and horticulture species to promote healthy lifestyle and sustain resources. Next one is awareness program. It is launched by Geological Survey of India. It talk about conducting program in schools, colleges, offices and marketplace to spread awareness of sustainable practices. Next one is waste segregation program. It is launched by National Museum of Natural History. It talk about promoting waste segregation and lifestyle changes to reduce environmental impact. Okay, so remember, Clean Sea Initiative, beach cleaning and sensitization program is launched by National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management. Plantation drive launched by National Institute of Himalayan Environment. Awareness program is from the Geological Survey of India, and waste segregation plants from the National Museum of Natural History. So this is all about this issue. So with that, I completed the MENS discussion topic. So I hope you love the discussion, you enjoy the discussion and gain some knowledge, some perspective out of it. So keep learning, keep enjoying. Namaskaram. Thank you.